Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi completes 12 years in office, transforming India into an aspirational nation driven by opportunity, innovation and self-belief. India reiterates its support to Afghanistan in key areas, criticizes Pakistan for trade and transit terrorism and civilian killings in Afghanistan at UN Security Council. Iran and Israel agreed to pause strikes but warn of retaliation if ceasefire breached again. US President and UN urged both sides to refrain from any action. US judge rejects Trump's $100,000 fee on H-1B visas for highly skilled foreign workers, terms it as unlawful tax. OpenAI joins AI listing queue with rival Anthropic, confidentially files for initial public offering on US stock market. India's rise over the last 12 years under Prime Minister Narendra Modi is a globally acknowledged transformation. All indicators point to how a time-bound course has been charted to make a developed nation by the time it celebrates 100 years of independence in 2047. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi's historic third consecutive term stands as a shining testament to his resolute drive towards building a Viksit Bharat by 2047, marked by bold economic reforms, massive infrastructure push, landmark governance initiatives and strong national security actions like Operation Sindoor. The government continues to deliver decisive governance focused on development, self-reliance and citizen welfare. More in this special report.
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी.
On the 9th of June in 2024, Narendra Modi took oath as Prime Minister of India for a historic third consecutive term, becoming only the second leader after Jawaharlal Nehru to achieve this feat. Administered by President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan, the ceremony marked the continuation of a journey rooted in dedication to national service. Born into a humble family in Vadnagar, Gujarat, Narendra Modi rose through grassroots politics with an unwavering commitment to development, good governance and cultural pride. From his early days as a Swayamsevak in the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh to Chief Minister of Gujarat and now leading the nation for over a decade, Prime Minister Modi has embodied the spirit of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. In his third term, he continues to drive India towards Viksit Bharat by 2047 with bold, decisive actions. Since taking oath, the government has delivered on multiple fronts. The union budget announced major initiatives for employment generation, youth skilling, internship opportunities, and increasing workforce participation. Significant allocations were made for highways, railways, ports, industrial corridors, and logistics infrastructure, with special emphasis on infrastructure-led economic growth. In the semiconductor and electronics sector, the government accelerated efforts under the India Semiconductor Mission, approving new projects and investments to position India as a global manufacturing hub. Renewable energy initiatives expanded rapidly through solar energy projects, green hydrogen development, energy transition programs, and climate resilience measures. A landmark step came with the launch of Mission Mausam to modernize weather forecasting, climate services, and atmospheric observation systems, enhancing forecasting accuracy and disaster preparedness for a weather-ready and climate-smart India. Bold reforms defined this term. The Waqf Amendment Bill was introduced to improve transparency, efficiency, and management of Waqf properties, strengthening governance and accountability in their administration. In rural India, the VBG Ramji Act 2025 replaced MG Narega, providing a legal guarantee of 125 days of wage employment per rural household per year, a major boost to livelihoods and rural development. On the global stage, India and the United States launched bilateral trade agreement negotiations in February 2025. By February 2026, they announced a framework for an interim trade arrangement advancing towards a comprehensive pact. India and Oman operationalized their Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA, expected to significantly boost trade, investment, and economic cooperation. National security saw decisive action. Following a major terrorist attack, India launched Operation Sindoor in 2025, targeting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and POK. This deliberated military response demonstrated India's zero-tolerance policy against cross-border terrorism and underscored strong national security resolve. From transparent governance and economic push to security and global partnerships, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's third term reflects bold decisions for a stronger, self-reliant India. This is the story of leadership with vision and action. Antara Sinha for DD India.
Yes, and to talk more on this, we are joined by our correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh from Delhi, Meghna Dev from Ahmedabad, and Shama Mishra from Mumbai. I'll come to you first, Meghna. Gujarat being the business hub, the government has in fact consistently focused on improving the ease of doing business, encouraging entrepreneurship and strengthening India's manufacturing and startup ecosystem. Tell us, how are these initiatives transforming the country's business landscape and enhancing India's competitiveness globally?
Obviously, the ease of doing business aspect is clearly reflected in the global rankings. When we actually see that India had jumped 79 ranks in just starting 5 years of the Modi government, clearly reflects the kind of ease of doing business and the kind of trust businesses gained, since the Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power. What we also see is that a lot of hand-holding was given for MSMEs. Now we are talking about the new important missions that India is going ahead in terms of manufacturing, in terms of semiconductors. When we actually see the union budget 26-27, it was a very decisive moment, especially for the semiconductor industry, when India announced the India Semiconductor Mission 2.0. And clearly, this new phase is signaling policy push to deepen, domestic semiconductor capabilities. As I had already mentioned, that when we talk about other countries like the US, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, these are big players in the semiconductor industry. And when we see when there are geopolitical tensions and there are external tensions that are there geopolitically, that hampers the supply chains. And that is the reason that India, for that matter, needs to be self-sufficient in this aspect, because semiconductor is something that drives almost everything nowadays, from medical field to defense field to AI to everything. So the government has been constantly, trying to accelerate the new emerging technologies, as well as also hand-holding startups. Over 2 lakh startups are now recognized. Initially, we had just a few hundred startups that were recognized, and now these over 2 lakh, or to be precise, 2.23 lakh startups that are recognized are creating over 23 lakh jobs, and many more indirectly as well. That definitely, signals a clear message that how important ease of doing business, bringing in more companies, bringing in more manufacturing units, make in India, design in India, is for the government. Also, when we see that, because I'm reporting currently from Ahmedabad, Gujarat, for that matter, has been Prime Minister Narendra Modi's, home ground in public life, and this is the place from where he started the Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit, which is one of the most successful regional summit which has now gone global, because so many businesses from different countries, so many countries come to this biennial summit and try to forge more cooperation economically. Besides that, we see a very beautiful riverfront where I am at now in terms of the infrastructure development. After that, we now see at the currently we saw the Micron facility come up here. We saw the Tata facility come up here. We have seen CG Semi, Finance, a lot of facilities that are coming up here in Gujarat, in Sanand. We are also seeing a number of other manufacturing units that have got massive hand-holding since the very beginning, since 2001 when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the Chief Minister here in Gujarat. So Gujarat has seen a very massive growth story, which India had started seeing after 2014, the acceleration of growth in terms of ease of living, ease of doing business, and now a massive push which new emerging sectors are getting. Definitely a lot that has happened over the years, but still a lot where India is aiming at, because the recent, I saw the Niti Aayog roadmap for semiconductor sector. It is positioning itself at somewhere around 120 to 150 billion by 2035.
Yeah.
So 120 to 150 billion US dollars is a lot in terms of the kind of vision that we are having at the moment for the important sectors in India.
Yes, focus has been on infrastructure and development. Thanks, Meghna. Let's go across to Shubhendu now. Shubhendu, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, India has sought to establish itself as a leading voice in global affairs, Global South. How would you assess the evolution of India's foreign policy over the past decade or so, and what have been the key diplomatic milestones that have strengthened India's standing on the world stage?
Hello, Abhishek. There are many milestones as far as India's foreign policy in the past 12 years in particular are concerned. But among the success, perhaps what ranks the highest is the manner in which India has emerged as the voice, as one of the important leaders of the Global South. As you mentioned, Global South, as we refer to it, as countries of Africa, Latin America, some nations in Asia, and basically developing country, poorer countries who represent the Global South, Global North representing the more developed part of the world. In that sense, there are many examples we've seen in 2023 under India's presidency of the G20. African Union was brought to the same level as the European Union when they were made a part of the G20 prestigious grouping. All of African nations under the African Union was made a part of it. We also saw a reflection of India's solidarity with the Global South in vaccine, Maitri. We've all lived through the dark phase of the pandemic at a time when many wealthy nations were practicing vaccine nationalism, which means that you produce and you save your vaccines for your own people. At that point, India had in fact supplied vaccines, some over 300 million vaccines, life-saving COVID vaccines to countries across the world, particularly countries who perhaps could not pay and afford vaccines in a manner that many developed countries could. So in that sense, that remains an important landmark. Many domestic reforms have also transformed India's landscape as far as foreign policy is concerned. Take UPI, for instance. It is made, although it comes under the larger rubric of economic development, but UPI from just a few crore transactions in 2016, it has risen to some 24,000 crore transactions per year in the year 2025. This was last fiscal. Over 314 lakh crore rupees has been transacted through UPI last year. So from ₹5 biscuit to paying the EMI of your house, you can use UPI. Now, why I'm mentioning it as part of foreign policy is that now many countries have come forward to, in fact, adapt to UPI for their own economies. There are many developing countries also part of, there's some 8 countries as of now, if I'm getting the number right, but developed countries like Singapore, France are also part of India's UPI revolution. They recognize India's digital revolution has the power to transform the financial and transactional landscape of the world. Also in the domain of sustainable development, there are many achievements, Abhishek. International Solar Alliance, something that is led by India and France, that seeks to transform the manner in which the future ahead could be greener, harnessing the power of the sun, starting with just a dozen countries. It now boasts of over 120 countries, and more countries are being added to this alliance. There is also yoga, which is, there's an International Yoga Day, in fact, later this month on the 21st, that also is seen as India's gift to the world. So in many ways, India has used its strength, its cultural strengths, its values of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the entire world as one family. The policy has also transformed in the manner that from being non-aligned to being all-aligned, striking direct relationship with partner countries with whom we can create a win-win partnership. So we've seen that happening, and India's voice, therefore, is a voice that matters significantly on the global platform. Prime Minister, whenever he speaks on multilateral platforms, India's perspective has a great deal of heft. And if we were to count more foreign policy achievements, there is, of course, Prime Minister's own philosophy of life, the manner in which individuals can contribute to climate change initiatives. And also there is millets, which seeks to transform the food habits of the world, again, towards a more sustainable world. So all in all, put together, India's own cultural values have shaped greatly the foreign policy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in these 12 years. And that has resulted in great partnership. Again, in the economic domain, we've seen partnerships, free trade agreements coming up, because there is more confidence, there is more interest, and there is more focus on India on the global stage today.
All right, Shubhendu, thanks for highlighting those landmark moments as far as the foreign policy is concerned. Shama Mishra is also with us from Mumbai. Shama, economic growth and inclusive development remain at the heart of the government's vision for Viksit Bharat. What would you identify as its most significant economic achievements, and how are they contributing to India's long-term development goals?
Well, Abhishek, when we are talking about Viksit Bharat to 2047, we have to understand that all these work that has been done in the last 12 years, that was a foundation for the next, 100 years when we celebrate our 100th Independence Day, and when we consider ourselves, when we declare ourselves as a developed nation. So a lot of infrastructure projects, a lot of inclusive schemes for the people of the nation has been already on the ground. And when we are talking about these schemes which are related to the people who are not just the urban people but also the rural people. So Jam Trinity, which is the Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile, that has been one of the major, one of the best successes that we have seen in recent times. Jan Dhan alone has crossed around 58 crore accounts in the last, when it was launched till this year. So a huge amount of transactions happening in that, and apart from that, a huge amount of numbers of people that have been brought into this formal system of financial inclusion. Also, when we are talking about financial inclusion and formal system, digitization and formalization of the system, of the financial system, has also been one of the major achievements of government. While we are talking about achievements, we have Mumbaikars with us. Let's speak to them about how they feel the developments have been in the last 12 years. What would you say has been, one of the major achievements of this government?
So today, as I stand, while Narendra Modi ji completes 12 years of leadership, what I want to also signify is how a clock completes 12. It does not end a cycle. That's the beginning of a new cycle. And these 12 years have been the foundation of a new India. Primarily through financial inclusion, through digital transformation, through infrastructure, and even global presence that we have made. I would particularly want to emphasize on the UPI, the Unified Payments Interface, which started as a nascent experiment, I would say, in 2016. We had about 2 crore transactions in that particular year. And today we stand at 24,100 crore transactions. 700 banks are associated, about 500 million individuals and 65 million merchants across the country. What's even more interesting is the global presence. Because of our probably cross-border integration, our strategic partnerships, we have associated and we are exporting the UPI model, which is now interoperable between countries like Singapore, France and UAE. And like I said, this is a new chapter that's starting from tomorrow. We are looking with greater aspirations.
All right. What do you think, according to the inclusive schemes that we're talking about, has been the biggest achievement?
सर्वप्रथम तो आपके माध्यम से जो विकास, विश्वास और लोक कल्याण के 12 वर्ष एनडीए सरकार ने पूर्ण की हैं, तो आपके माध्यम से मैं प्रधानमंत्री माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी को बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करना चाहूँगी। महिला हूँ तो इस दशक को मैं नारी शक्ति दशक बोलूँगी। महिलाओं के कल्याण से लेके महिलाओं को नेतृत्व क्षमता बढ़ाने तक मोदी जी ने हर एक चीज़ पे काम किया है। बेटी बढ़ाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ जैसे योजना लाकर उन्होंने महिलाओं के लिंग गुणोत्तर बढ़ाए, उनको पढ़ाया। फिर मुद्रा, आवास योजना, स्टार्टअप, इन सारी योजनाओं को इम्प्लीमेंट करके उन्होंने महिलाओं को काफ़ी नेतृत्व उनकी काफ़ी बढ़ाई। फिर हम लोग अगर बात करेंगे तो महिलाएं की जो खास करके नेतृत्व है उसमें तो वो अग्रसर है ही, लेकिन जो खास करके पुरुष बाहुबल का जो हम लोगों को ये दिखाया जाता है जिसमें पॉलिटिक्स हो गया, उसमें भी महिलाओं को काफ़ी आगे बढ़ाया मोदी जी ने। फिर आर्मी, नेवी, एयरफोर्स, यूपीएससी, एमपीएससी जैसे बड़े बड़े गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर में भी महिलाएं बढ़ चढ़ के हिस्सा ले रही है बिकॉज ऑफ नरेंद्र मोदी जी। सो थैंक यू सो मच। और अगर हम मुंबई की बात करें तो बीएमसी में भी आजकल मुंबई कमिश्नर से लेके मुंबई की मेयर, बीएसटी, बेस्ट सब में महिलाओं का ही बोलबाला है, तो ये सब नेतृत्व जाता है मोदी सरकार।
So what she's highlighting is we were earlier talking about women's participation in development, but since the government has come of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it has become women-led development, and that has been one of the major changes apart from other schemes that we are seeing. And when we were talking about infrastructure, when we were talking about other schemes, definitely Maharashtra is one state which is really ahead among other states.
Women-led development, in fact, like you said, has emerged as a key pillar of governance. PM Modi 3.0, bold push for Viksit Bharat 2047. We'll leave it at that. Thank you for input, Shama and Shubhendu from Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi marks 12 years in office, emphasizing government initiatives focused on dignity, opportunity and welfare for the poor. In a post on X, Prime Minister Modi wrote, and I quote, The past 12 years of our government have been dedicated to trust, development and public welfare. With the blessings of 1.4 billion fellow citizens and the spirit of nation first, we have spared no effort in empowering our youth, women and our farmer brothers and sisters. It is the result of these tireless efforts that today, from infrastructure to the digital revolution, the country has gained a new identity on the global stage. To realize the resolve of a developed India, we will continue to move forward relentlessly on this path of service, good governance and prosperity. Unquote. All right, time now for a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DD India NewsHour.
Diplomacy is not about freezing advantageous situations and saying that will stay there forever. Diplomacy is about planning for those ups and downs and putting in place structures and relationships which do. It's not an impatient business. It's not a knee-jerk response to what happens. Foreign policy has a certain calculation. It has a certain, it needs preparation. It has a timeline. That's how it works. You're there for your neighbors when COVID hits them, when there were fertilizer crisis, when there were power crisis, when, they're short of fuel. Many of them sometimes have, food issues, whatever it is. That sense that, look, a growing India, a rising India is to your advantage.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Iran and Israel have announced a pause in their military operations against each other following a rapid escalation of hostilities over Sunday and Monday. Both sides said they were halting the latest round of fire, but also warned they would retaliate if struck again. This came hours after Iran's armed forces said it had stopped operations following the delivery of a painful response to Israel. Later on Monday, Iran's main military command, the Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, issued a statement announcing a halt to strikes against Israel. The latest round of strikes began on Sunday evening when Iran launched missiles at northern Israel in retaliation for Israel's expanded military operations in Lebanon. Israel swiftly retaliated, triggering a fresh round of tensions between the two regional adversaries. And UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has conveyed deep concern over the Israeli decision to close key crossings into Gaza and suspend the entry of humanitarian and commercial supplies. Citing the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UN spokesperson Farhan Haq emphasized that people in Gaza rely on a steady flow of humanitarian and commercial goods from outside. Haq added that the UN and humanitarian partners work hard to maintain a sustained and predictable flow of supplies despite restrictions. Haq further conveyed Guterres' deep concern by the decision to close the Kerem Shalom and Rafah crossings and suspend the entry of supplies into Gaza. And demonstrating its unwavering commitment to the safety and welfare of Indian seafarers worldwide, the Maritime Rescue Coordination Centre, Mumbai, coordinated closely with Omani authorities to ensure the successful rescue of 24 Indian crew members following a missile attack on a merchant tanker off the coast of Oman. The rescued crew members are reported to be safe and no casualties or injuries have been reported. The vessel is presently anchored off Masera, Oman. The successful rescue operation highlights the effectiveness of international maritime cooperation and the strong coordination mechanisms established between maritime rescue authorities in the region. It also underscores the Indian Coast Guard's commitment to safeguarding Indian seafarers and providing timely assistance during maritime emergencies, irrespective of location. And recent studies report that nuclear armed states have spent over $470 billion on their arsenals in the past 5 years, marking a record high in nuclear weapons spending amid a renewed global arms race. Global spending on nuclear weapons reached a record $119 billion in 2025, marking a 19% rise compared to 2024. The 9 nuclear-armed countries increased investment in modernizing and deploying their arsenals. More warheads are being moved from storage to active delivery systems. Number of nuclear weapons available for use have risen to 9,745. The United States remain the largest spender, followed by China. Rising geopolitical tensions have weakened arms control, and emerging technologies like artificial intelligence are increasing nuclear risk. In the United States, a federal judge has struck down a $100,000 fee that U.S. President imposed on new H-1B visas for highly skilled foreign workers. Court concluded that it constituted an unlawful tax Congress never authorized. The administration argued that the fee constituted a lawful monetary penalty that the president was authorized to impose under federal immigration law. But judge concluded that the fee was not a penalty, but a tax that the Republican president lacked any authorization from Congress to issue, and that the U.S. State Department and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services could not implement. The judge cited the U.S. Supreme Court's February ruling striking down Trump's sweeping tariffs he pursued under a law meant for use in national emergencies. White House spokeswoman Taylor Rogers in a statement said that Trump administration is confident that this order will be reversed on appeal. The H-1B program offers 65,000 visas annually, with another 20,000 visas for workers with advanced degrees approved for 3 to 6 years. And Progressive City Council member Nithya Raman has advanced to a November runoff against Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, setting up an unexpected matchup between two Democrats and former political allies to run the struggling city of nearly 4 million. Raman made a last-minute entry into the race after she had endorsed Bass for re-election. She was elected to the council with the support of the Democratic Socialists of America, and the election will test whether voters in the heavily Democratic city want to move further to the political left to address long-running problems of homelessness, buckled streets and sidewalks, and climbing rent and home prices. Born in India, Raman moved to the US as a child and earned degrees from Harvard University and Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where she studied urban planning. Raman's positions on policing in the city have also changed. Armenia's governing civil contract party won an election seen as a test of its handling of a peace deal with Azerbaijan and its growing turn to the West. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's party won 49.8% of votes, enough to secure a parliamentary majority under Armenia's electoral system. The results, based on a strong turnout of nearly 59%, also showed a better than expected tally for two main pro-Russian opposition groups. International election monitors said the run-up to voting was marked by efforts by traditional patron Russia to influence the outcome. Russia accused the West of interfering in the vote and joined Armenia's opposition in alleging election violations. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India NewsHour. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav expresses confidence in India's economic outlook. Details after the break. India urges stronger action on environmental crime, backs laws, technology and community support. And India's Met Department issues heavy rainfall warnings across the country as southwest monsoon continues its steady advance.
We have one other neighbor, Pakistan, and there the response is very, this doesn't apply because when somebody practices cross-border terrorism as the central feature of the policy towards us, that you have to also ensure there are consequences, that it is not something which will be cost-free. So when you are comparing eras, I think the one thing this country is very clear on, nobody wants to see again what happened at 26/11. That 26/11 was cost-free. That should never happen again.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. With a massive fuel buffer standing between India and global energy chaos, Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas Hardeep Singh Puri declared the nation fully shielded from looming oil shocks. In an exclusive interview with Doordarshan, the minister dismissed immediate energy risk and predicted an imminent drop in fuel prices, pointing to India's extraordinary market resilience.
फरवरी 2022 से लेके फरवरी 2026 और अभी तक दाम पहले क्यों नहीं बढ़े? 4 साल पहले दाम बढ़े थे फरवरी 2022 में, और अभी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने दाम बढ़ाने की बजाय 1 लाख करोड़ का जो सेंट्रल एक्साइज ड्यूटी है वो कम कर दी पेट्रोल और डीजल की, और उसके बाद थोड़ी सी पेट्रोल और डीजल में इंक्रीज ऑफ प्राइस हुआ है, 7 रुपए 60 पैसे एक्सेट्रा। तो अगर दुनिया भर में देखें, विश्व भर में, तो जापान के बाद वी आर द कंट्री विद द लोएस्ट इंक्रीज इन पेट्रोल एंड डीजल प्राइसेस। सो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के लिए इट्स आर्टिकल ऑफ फेथ कि हमारे जो कंज्यूमर है, हमारे जो आम नागरिक है, उनको इंटरनेशनल प्राइस इंक्रीजेस से बचाया जाए।
And responding to opposition's allegations regarding fuel prices, Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri said that alliance is disintegrating under the weight of its own internal contradictions.
मुझे तो लग रहा है they are collapsing under the weight of their own contradictions. उनमें कई लोग तो आए नहीं। मैंने सुना कि केजरीवाल जी और स्टालिन आए नहीं और टीवीके का वैसे नहीं आना चाहा, तो अखिलेश जी और ममता जी बैठे हैं वहाँ पे। ममता जी का जो सिचुएशन आपने देखी है अभी वेस्ट बंगाल में, उनके तो अपने एमपीज उन्हीं के खिलाफ रिवोल्ट कर रहे हैं, और उत्तर प्रदेश में चुनाव अगले साल आने वाले हैं, और मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि उत्तर प्रदेश विल अगेन रिजल्ट इन resounding BJP victory.
Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has expressed confidence in India's economic outlook, saying the country's growth model remains one of the strongest globally. Speaking exclusively to Doordarshan, the minister credited visionary decisions, wide-ranging reforms and policies for the country's consistent growth rate of 6 to 8% despite global uncertainties. Reiterating the government's vision of Viksit Bharat, Vaishnav said India is well positioned to continue its growth momentum.
इन 12 वर्षों में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को बहुत ही एक मैच्योर तरीके से हैंडल किया है। 2014 में हमारा पूरा फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर, बैंकिंग सेक्टर ऐसी अजब परिस्थिति में था कि सारी दुनिया में चिंता थी कि भारत जैसी बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था फ्रेजाइल 5 में गिनी जाने लगी थी। बैंक्स के एनपीएस बहुत हाई थे, बैंकों की बैलेंस शीट्स एकदम प्रैक्टिकली फिनिश होने के कगार पे थी। कौन सा बैंक कब इम्प्लोड हो जाएगा, ऐसी परिस्थितियां थी। आते ही माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने पहले बैंक्स को बहुत सिस्टमेटिक वे में उनके एनपीएस कम करने का प्रोसेस चालू किया। कम से कम करीब 2,50,000 करोड़ के आसपास रिकैपिटलाइज किया बैंक्स की बैलेंस शीट्स को। बैंक्स को प्रॉपर एक हेल्दी कंडीशन में लेके आए, जो आज आप उसका रिजल्ट देख रहे हैं। पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स का प्रॉफिट हाईएस्ट लेवल पे है, NPS lowest level पे।
And Minister Vaishnav also said that today India is moving towards becoming the creator of technologies of the future. To realize this mission, the minister said that the government has created a favorable ecosystem for the development of semiconductor industry. Expressing confidence about future growth, Vaishnav said the progress achieved under the semiconductor mission has generated strong interest among global players.
प्रधानमंत्री श्री मोदी जी ने जब सेमीकंडक्टर इंडस्ट्री के बारे में प्रेजेंटेशंस लेने चालू किए थे, उनका बहुत स्पष्ट था कि हमें इकोसिस्टम पूरा बनाना है। और पीएम प्रधानमंत्री जी का ये भी बहुत स्पष्ट था कि हमें 20 साल का सोचना है, हमें शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन के लिए नहीं सोचना है। तीसरा उन्होंने कहा था कि बहुत ध्यान रखना कि इसमें टैलेंट डेवलपमेंट पे पूरा फोकस रहे। ये 3 चीज़ें उन्होंने मूल रूप से हमको गाइडेंस दी थी। इसीलिए जब सेमीकंडक्टर मिशन जब चालू किया, इकोसिस्टम पे फोकस दिया। केमिकल्स, गैसेस, इक्विपमेंट, ये सब के सब इसमें इंडस्ट्री के जितने इकोसिस्टम प्लेयर्स हैं वो ध्यान से आए। सेकंड, टैलेंट पे बहुत फोकस किया। टैलेंट में 321 यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं, 324 यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं, जहाँ पर मोस्ट मॉडर्न डिज़ाइन टूल्स में, सेमीकंडक्टर की डिज़ाइन टूल्स में स्टूडेंट्स को ट्रेनिंग दी जाती है।
Moving on, India has slammed Pakistan at the United Nations Security Council for weaponizing Afghanistan's landlocked status and carrying out deadly airstrikes that have killed hundreds of civilians. Speaking at the UNSC on the situation in Afghanistan, Indian ambassador to UN, Bharat said Pakistan's denial of transit access for Afghan traders amounted to unprecedented trade and transit terrorism. He also flagged concerns raised by the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan over Pakistan's campaign of military airstrikes that has led to blockade of key trade routes and disrupted livelihoods. The ambassador further urged the international community to safeguard the economic rights of landlocked Afghanistan.
We have operationalized a dedicated air freight corridor between India and Afghanistan. We are also supporting Afghan traders by issuing hundreds of gratis long-term business visas who are suffering under unprecedented trade and transit terrorism inflicted upon them by Pakistan's denial of passage for trade. The cynical closure of access for this landlocked country is in total violation of UN declarations on landlocked developing countries and a clear weaponization of their trade and transit vulnerabilities. This blatant Pakistani violation of WTO norms and of the UN Charter and international law should be condemned by the global community.
And referring to India's capacity building and humanitarian assistance initiatives for Kabul, P. Hari stressed that India is supporting the people not only affected by the conflict but also dealing with natural disasters.
We lend our voice again in re-emphasizing the importance of incentivizing positive actions. The political reality of Afghanistan has changed in the last 5 years, and the current UN sanctions regime must take that into account. The UN and the international community need policy instruments that aim to benefit the people of Afghanistan and nudge policy in the right direction, rather than only wielding tools of punishment that are yielding diminishing returns. The international community must engage with all stakeholders across all formats. Pakistan's campaign of military airstrikes against Afghanistan is causing huge civilian casualties and sufferings to the Afghan people. We reiterate Secretary General's deep concern at civilian casualties caused by airstrikes, cross-border firing, and targeted killings as detailed in UNAMA reports. We support the Secretary General's call urging compliance with obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law, and ensuring protection of civilians. We also support UNAMA's earlier calls for investigation to ensure accountability, prevent recurrence, and uphold victims' rights. Such unconscionable acts of violence are a blatant assault on Afghanistan's sovereignty and a threat to the region's peace and stability. India strongly condemns the airstrikes on Afghan territory.
And Ambassador Islamabad's decision to refer to groups inside its own borders as Fitna al-Hindustan has nothing but officially sponsored misinformation dressed in religious terminology.
Coming up with official notifications directing Pakistan's government agencies to start referring to groups inside its own borders as Fitna al-Hindustan is nothing but officially sponsored misinformation and disinformation dressed in religious terminology. This is an outcome of an organized factory of hate coming from the deep state of Pakistan, which aims to keep their citizens in a state of permanent hostility with India in order to perpetuate their stay in power and control of national resources and detract them from core political and economic problems. The de facto coup by the military through the 27th Constitutional Amendment is only its most recent manifestation.
And in another debate, Ambassador P. Harish highlighted that combating illicit environmental trafficking requires robust legal frameworks, technology-enabled enforcement and strong community participation. Addressing the UN General Assembly, India emphasized that these crimes threaten biodiversity, sustainable development and global livelihoods. Moving on, 7 people were killed and dozens wounded in clashes between police and members of an activist group in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. In Muzaffarabad, supporters of the Joint Awami Action Committee, an anti-Pakistan government movement demanding economic and governance reforms, had vowed to press ahead with protests days after Pakistani authorities banned the group under the pretext of anti-terrorism laws. Markets were open in Muzaffarabad while security force patrolled the city after residents had rushed over the weekend to shop to stock up ahead of expected protests and lockdowns. Members of the Joint Awami Action Committee have rightfully called the listing as a terror group an act of oppression. They added they are demonstrating for legitimate economic and political rights. Pakistan forces have arrested more than 70 members over the weekend. At St. Petersburg International Economic Forum 2026, DD India spoke to Alexander Dugin, head of TUVA, Ladislav Hovalik, MFA spokesperson Maria Zakharova, and Indian Business Alliance President Manoj Kotwani, all highlighting India's transformation and the deepening India-Russia partnership across culture, diplomacy and trade.
India has made remarkable progress in coming years, in economically, technologically, and today we are here in St. Petersburg attending 29th St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, where we will see the global view, how people think about the India and India's progress.
Over 3 days at SPIEF 2026, DD India spoke to key Russian voices about India's growing role and the future of bilateral ties.
India is a civilization state. India is not just third world country. That is huge civilization. That is growing power, independent, sovereign, and I very much appreciate Prime Minister Modi and his defense of Hindu identity and revival of deep roots of Indian culture, Indian people, Indian society.
From philosophy to spirituality, the shared Buddhist heritage between India and Russia's republic was another recurring theme.
I wanted to say this year we are organizing the 4th International Buddhist Forum. We've invited Buddhist clergy and official representatives from India, among others. We hope a large delegation will attend, and we'll be there on the sidelines. We're certainly discussing many issues, including those related to regional and cultural affairs, and, let's say, the development of religion.
Official Russia too spoke clearly. The foreign ministry reaffirmed the previous strategic partnership.
St. Petersburg Forum combines both business possibilities and cultural events.
On the ground, Indian businesses are forging real partnership. The India-Russia business dialogue brought together ministers from both sides.
India-Russia relations are not really based on geopolitical and contemporary issues. These are very old friendships that are based on very deep-rooted people-to-people ties.
My belief and my goal in this forum is that our cooperation can go well beyond traditional sectors such as oil and gas.
I represent a state called Andhra Pradesh, which is a $215 billion economy.
Spiritual leader Sri Ravi Shankar reminded the gathering that business flow based on a foundation of shared human values.
We have to improve the tourism between Russia and India. You have snow here, Indians love snow, and we have warm beach in India. Russians love warm beaches.
And then, on the final day, President Vladimir Putin addressed the plenary session with a clear message for the world. From the Indian Business Alliance to the highest level of Russian leadership, the verdict is unanimous.
Coming to this forum, especially in St. Petersburg, the most culture center of Russia, the forum speaks about its strength, business during turbulence, and answer is clear from St. Petersburg. India and Russia is going to achieve the target which is set by two leaders. That's what we bring to you from St. Petersburg. This is Devesh Kumar, DD India, St. Petersburg.
Weather updates now. With southwest monsoon rains continue to lash Kerala, the India Met Department has issued weather alerts for 11 districts today. 3 districts have been placed under red alert, 2 under orange alert and 6 under yellow alert amid forecasts of heavy to extremely heavy rainfall. The IMD has issued a red alert for Kozhikode, Kannur and Kasaragod districts where extremely heavy rainfall exceeding 20 centimeters is likely to occur. The IMD has issued a heavy rainfall alert for Kerala until Friday with wind and fishermen warnings active until Wednesday. Due to bad weather, authorities in Kozhikode, Kannur and Kasaragod have declared a holiday for all educational institutions. The IMD has also warned that Delhi NCR will continue to experience severe heat over the next 48 hours with maximum temperatures expected to rise further. Heat wave conditions are likely at isolated places over Haryana, Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttar Pradesh, Vidarbha and West Rajasthan. All right, let's go across to Thiruvananthapuram. DD India's Vivek Narayanan joins us live from there. Vivek, the southwest monsoon has intensified across Kerala, prompting the IMD to issue red alerts in several districts. What is the latest situation on the ground, particularly in the districts placed under red alert?
Yes, as you said, that the state is receiving extremely heavy rainfall, especially in the northern part of Kerala, where there is a red alert that's been issued. Also remember, today all the schools, colleges are closed today because in certain areas, especially in the low-lying areas, there is a flood-like situation, especially due to flash floods that's been reported yesterday night. Such a situation is there, and hence this is the reason why all the schools and educational institutions especially have been asked to give a holiday for the children, because there are a lot of children who have to cross the rivers and small ponds and reach the schools, and hence this is indeed a very difficult task for them to reach out to the schools. Now remember, for the next 2 weeks the state is expected to receive very heavy rainfall, and from the 13th of June, from the 13th or 14th of June, the strength of monsoon is expected to come down, And by the 1st of July, due to the effect of El Nino, there could be a weakening of monsoon. This is exactly what we been told by the IMD directors. But from today onwards, there is a trawling ban that's in effect, which means that for the next 52 days, there won't be any trawling that will be allowed in the seas of Kerala, especially in the coastal areas of Kerala, due to which the fishermen community will actually find a very tough job. Now, there will also be a scarcity of fish, and hence the prices of fish is also expected to go high in the next 52 days. But as far as the lives of people are concerned, the IMD and especially the district administration of Idukki, Wayanad, Kottayam, Pathanamthitta, which are all hilly districts, have clearly advised people not to venture into the hilly areas, especially in a district called Idukki. Tourist people have been asked not to venture during the night. Night traffic has been completely stopped in Idukki district and also in certain areas of Pathanamthitta district. We know what exactly happened in the last few years during the monsoon season. Kerala has been experiencing heavy monsoon. The pattern of monsoon in Kerala has changed completely. Like, it never used to be a uniform rainfall, which used to find till 2017. Nowadays, the intensity and the frequency of rainfall is very high. In a short span of time, you receive a very heavy rainfall, due to which there is massive loss of property and also human loss. And we have seen it from 2018 till 2022.
Vivek, you have told us about the forecast there in Thiruvananthapuram. And also IMD has issued warnings for fishermen and highlighted strong wind conditions. Thank you for getting us the latest from Thiruvananthapuram. Moving on, ChatGPT maker OpenAI has filed confidentially to go public on the US stock market. The artificial intelligence giant's debut on Wall Street is expected to be one of the most highly valued listings in market history, though it did not disclose the size or terms of the offering and said a timeline has not yet been determined. It now joins rival Anthropic in a push towards the stock market as investors seek exposure to the artificial intelligence boom. At that valuation, OpenAI would set the stage for a trio of trillion-dollar valuation companies debuting rapidly, which together are seen as the most consequential test of investor appetite for high-growth technology stocks in the last 10 years. Earlier, Anthropic, the company behind the viral coding assistant Claude Code, said on June 1st that it had confidentially filed for a US initial public offering weeks after raising $65 billion in a funding round that valued it at $965 billion. All right, sports updates now. India finished on top of the medal table at the inaugural World Yogasana Championships, winning 114 medals, including 102 gold, as the event concluded on Monday in Ahmedabad. Second place, Japan were a distant second with 3 gold, 3 silver and 5 bronze, with Argentina taking the third spot thanks to their lone athlete, Nabila Baraza's exploits of 2 gold and 3 silver. Neighbours Nepal were the second most successful contingent in terms of number of medals won, as they clinched a total of 52 medals, including 1 gold, 36 silver and 15 bronze to finish 5th on the medal standings. A total of 522 athletes from 79 countries competed in the championships. Athletes from 31 countries won at least 1 medal, while 10 nations claimed at least 1 gold medal. England cricket captain Ben Stokes and fast bowler Gus Atkinson are under investigation following an incident at a nightclub after England's test win over New Zealand at Lord's. The England and Wales Cricket Board confirmed that the two players were involved in what it described as a breach of team protocols during the early hours of Monday morning. The incident allegedly also involved a Saracens Academy rugby player. It is the latest controversy to hit the England team following an Ashes tour docked with allegations of a drinking culture. Before the Ashes, white ball captain Harry Brook was punched by a nightclub bouncer in Wellington on the eve of a one-day international against New Zealand. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.